is going on, everyone? Welcome to Birds of the Round Table. Today, we are breaking down the Eagles 2025 draft class. No, not Harold Fannin. We are talking pass or fail with the Eagles draft selections. We are talking our favorite training camp battles, if we have enough time. Joining us, Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's good, Ryan?
Man, that felt very directed at me. It's too soon, honestly. I'm still not over it, but outside of that, I'm doing pretty good.
Also joining us, Shane Half at Shane Half NFL. Yo, Shane.
What's up? Just, feel like I'm catching up on sleep from all the draft stuff, but here we are. We're still talking draft. Let's go.
Yep. Tying a bow on this thing. Last but not least, David at PHL Eagle News. What's up, David?
Doing great. I'm shocked that we're going to have to discuss 10 draft picks, but let's do it.
Yeah, for real. There's a lot of rumors about the Eagles maybe trading up, maybe, being aggressive on day two. They traded one spot up on day one, traded back on day two. Let's get into it. With the 31st pick, the Eagles moved up and selected Jjihaad Campbell. I'll throw it to you, Shane, first. Pass or fail for Jjihaad Campbell?
Oh, I totally – I see now that you said pass fail. I was ready for letter grades. That's pass. I mean, that's a great pick in a draft that wasn't the deepest draft. Medical things aside, because that's in play here, and he might not be ready to go right away. But I feel like Jjihaad Campbell was one of the sure things in the draft, and it's a position the Eagles don't typically draft, especially don't draft early. But, I think Jjihaad Campbell is going to be a great fit for the Eagles. I think he's going to give them a lot of versatility in the fact that you can use him a lot of the same ways that you use Zach Bond. And so it's going to bring a lot of that versatility. He was easily the best player left on the board when the Eagles were on the clock. He's one of the guys you don't have 32 first round grades. He was one of the guys that had a first round grade for me. And so to get him at 31 with a minor trade up, and for him to fit a huge position of need for you with the Nakobe Dean injury, I thought it was a slam dunk for the Eagles.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I agree. Not only was it a position of need, but it was also a position devoid of top-tier talent in this draft. I had Jjihaad ranked down like 17th, excuse me, and I don't think I had another linebacker until the 80s. I mean, I know some people had other guys. I know Carson went higher, but he was originally recruited as an edge rusher. I mean, he's going to probably be, off-ball linebacker here, but he brings a lot of those skills that Fangio's going to have a lot of fun with. So I'm excited to see what he does. And like Shane said, he's almost like a younger clone of Zach Bond, which is to say he has the pedigree and skill set to be an all-pro linebacker once healthy.
Yeah, the Zach Bond clone vibes are in full effect. What about you, Ryan? Pass or fail?
Yeah, this is an easy pass. We joked, during the show that what's better than one Zach Bond? It's having two. And with the uncertainty of the rest of the linebackers, and their, the future of the position, I think this was such a slam dunk. Again, I'm still in shock that we actually picked a linebacker.
Yeah. One of my favorite reactions from the watch party was Ryan flipping out and screaming. That was a lot of fun. This is obviously a pass for me. You guys probably already know my thoughts on this selection, but I'm going to go with 3 fun facts about Jjihaad Campbell. He was born in New Jersey, just 20 minutes away from Lincoln Financial Field. His name, Jjihaad, means struggle or effort. What's more Philadelphia than that? And in his first start for the Alabama Crimson Tide, this dude had 14 tackles and an interception. That's pretty awesome. And I'll have fun facts for the rest of the picks. But this is obviously a pass for me. I was ecstatic. It was one of those selections. The morning after, I was even more happy about the versatility, the chess piece. combination between DeJean and Spawn and now Campbell, assuming he's healthy, is going to be a lot of fun. Marshawn says Ryan and Dives have graded this draft every day this past week.
The question is, do the grades change each time?
No, it's been pretty A plus.
Pretty consistent.
Maybe that changes as we get later in the draft. Let's move on to Andrew Makuba, pick number 64. There was some debate between him and Xavier Watts, two safeties that thrived, in coverage as a deep safety. Let's throw it in reverse. Ryan, pass or fail?
Yeah, this is a pass. Just, the fact of the matter is, safety was such a big need. There's, I guess we'll never truly know why they were trying to trade up, to 22 with the Chargers. Was it for Jjihaad? Was it for Malachi Starks? But either way, they knew they needed a safety. And yeah, they had two really good safeties to choose from. And I think Makuba was more of a scheme fit than Watts. Obviously, it seemed that Vic Fangio was kind of leading the charge here, and if he preferred Makuba, I think I'm all over that. So I love it. Again, big fan of his since his Clemson days. So it's great to see him come and be an Eagle.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I agree. I think I might have even had Watts ranked higher overall, like on an NFL board, but on an Eagles board, it was Makuba because he is a better scheme fit. One of my favorite things about him was he returned to the Longhorns for another season last year because he could have come out and he debated it, but he wanted to prove to everybody that he was a complete player and he wanted to put more of that on college tape so he could go higher in the draft, and mission accomplished there. He thrives against the run. He tackles very well. He's a very short tackler, packs a punch. He gets downhill really quick, and he's good, in coverage. He had 7 PBUs, 5 interceptions last year. I mean, to me, he fills the role of CJ. Like, I already thought he was like the perfect fit for the Eagles, but once CJ left, I thought it was even more imperative that the Eagles go out and grab him. So I was very excited with the pick.
What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I'll give it a pass. I had Xavier Watts ranked higher. I think Xavier Watts is a better player than Makuba, but I understand the fit for why the Eagles went after Makuba, because I think Xavier Watts, I wrote in my profile of Watts that you probably want him playing around the line of scrimmage as like more of the box safety in a single high scheme. That's not what the Eagles do. They want to play from split coverage structures. And so Makuba makes sense from that standpoint. And he fit another position of need for the Eagles. You don't like to walk into the draft with positions of need, but it's going to happen at times. And for them to walk out of the first 2 rounds with 2 guys that I think fit those needs, and if healthy, I think they can be starters for week 1 of the rookie season. I think that's a huge thing. Now, Makuba needs to put on a little bit of weight probably to succeed at the highest level in the NFL. But I really like the player. I like the pick. I'll give it a pass.
Yeah, this is a pass for me too. Marshawn says, is he really a ball hawk, though? He had 1 year where he picked off 6 passes. It's important to note his freshman year, he was strictly a free safety. That's where he dominantly played and was breaking tons of records as a freshman. Then the next 2 years, he kind of moved all over the place in different roles. And then at Texas last year, played mostly free safety and, again, played really, really well. As someone who I watched a ton of Texas last year. Him and Anthony Hill just popped all the time, like some of the other guys we've mentioned in previous shows. Marshawn says Ty Robinson push situations is going to be a movie. We'll get to that in a second. But give me a pass on this one. Here's some fun facts on Andrew Makuba. He was born in Zimbabwe, moved to Texas at the age of 9. While he was at Clemson, he became the first true freshman defensive back to start a season opener since 1973. And he majored in physical culture and sports. Pretty cool. It's a little bit about Andrew Makuba. Next up, Ty Robinson in the 4th round. The Eagles did not make a 3rd-round pick, which was a little upsetting, not going to lie. I remember during the watch party, like that was like something I really wanted Howie to really be aggressive on, because I loved a lot of the prospects in that area. And I'll be honest, I don't think the board was very favorable to the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like the run on tight ends and different things. I think Howie kind of retreated and said, we're going to crush and make some value picks on day 3, which was a little frustrating. I'm not going to lie. Throw it to you, Shane, first. Pass or fail, Ty Robinson.
Yeah, I didn't watch Ty Robinson, and I still haven't had a chance to look at him a whole lot. And so I can't talk a ton about the player. I've looked into him a little bit, and I have liked what I've seen. He's got some crazy bend and can play all over the defensive line, and we know the Eagles like those guys. But there were just a lot of guys there that I would have liked in the 3rd round. So I'll give this one a pass, but I didn't like trading back in the 3rd round, and I didn't like how they continued to just trade back. So I'll pass this one. I'm going to watch some more of Ty Robinson and get into him a little bit more. I like what I've seen so far, but man, there were several guys that I just really liked that were there that the Eagles didn't get the chance to take.
Yeah. What about you, David?
Yeah, I feel exactly like Shane. There were other players. It's a pass, but it's like a C+ kind of pass. I feel like this is kind of how I felt about Will Shipley last year. It's great pick. I mean, but I did not watch tons of him either, because from the first time I watched, he kind of lacked lateral quickness, which is something the Eagles normally value at that position. And he didn't really, show a lot of that on tape. So he was one of the guys who I watched just a little bit of and moved on from. He does bring, the ability to create pressure, interior pressure, which I do like, and his versatility. And he's another guy who they met with at the combine. And you got to start putting a lot more stock into that. People want to follow top 30 visits, and all these things. Well, the past few years, they have drafted a lot of players out of these Senior Bowls, including Quinyon last year, who he told me himself he probably doesn't get picked by them if he didn't go out there and show off the way he did playing against top-tier talent. So I think that's something that a lot of people can start honing in on, is looking at who they're meeting with and talking with at these Senior Bowls, because they're definitely putting a lot of stock into that competition.
All right, pass for David. Ryan, what say you?
Yeah, it's definitely a pass. It was a guy that you kind of turned me on to, and I started kind of towards the end of the draft process, start to kind of look into a little bit more, and since he's been drafted, what I've been looking into is all stuff that makes me like this pick even more. I'm going to steal a fun fact from you. If you didn't have it, but I looked and found 2 nicknames for him. One is the Water Boy, great nickname, and the other, Vanilla Gorilla. How do you not love that? Another exciting white. I'm in.
Ty Robinson was one of my favorite sleepers in this draft. And to get him in the 4th round was a solid value. I've mocked him to the Eagles many times. I think he can play edge. I think he can play defensive tackle in different situations. We'll get into a little more about Ty Robinson during another segment later in the show. But one of my favorite targets for the Eagles, and it was really exciting to see them select him. So I think he's a stud. We saw him play fullback. I think he's going to be a blast. And I saw the reaction with him or with Cam Jurgens and that selection. 3 fun facts on Ty Robinson besides Vanilla Gorilla. His father, Jason, also played football at Nebraska. He played 60 games in his college career. That's a school record for most games played in Nebraska history. And he's also wicked smart. He's a 5-time Nebraska Scholar Athlete Honorable member. So very excited to see what Ty Robinson does with the Philadelphia Eagles. Marshawn says Robinson's built like Jose Canseco. He gets a pass. Howie navigating the third round is a fail. Yeah, I feel like Howie, I don't know if we blame him or what, but did not have a good feel on the third round, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, so you get the trade back from 96, and then Charles Grant goes off the board at 99, which feels like a guy they would like. And immediately after that, they trade from 101 out of the third round entirely. And so there's a bit of like, if you liked the guy, take him and quit trying to be cute. And maybe they didn't, and maybe they just got another offer to move down. But the same thing happened in the fourth round with Jalen Travis, another offensive tackle. The instant he went off the board, a couple picks ahead of them, they traded out again. He goes off the board at 128. They were at 130. They immediately pulled the trigger and traded out. So it just felt like there were several times that there were guys they wanted, and they would trade out when they went a pick or two ahead of them.
Yep. Rolling on to McWilliams, cornerback out of UCF, I think it was. Smallish was one of the biggest winners of the Senior Bowl. He's a good athlete. You know, I question a little bit how much he's going to play outside. I'll leave that to you guys. He might be a nickel corner in the NFL, but this was a bit of a reach. Shane, pass or fail, McWilliams.
That's a fail for me. This was just going back too far and missing out on a lot of guys that you wanted to get. I am in the camp that thinks they were probably going to take Shadur Sanders if the Browns didn't jump him to take him one spot ahead. But, I mean, Braden Swenson goes the very next pick. That would have been a great pick. There's Elik Iomanor goes a little bit later on, and I thought he was a guy that made perfect sense for the Eagles, big power slot that can go. You know, he's really good run blocker, and people were like, well, he doesn't catch very well. I was like, who cares? He's not catching balls. He's there to block. This is a run-first team with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I didn't like this pick, and it was kind of just part of the whole trading back too far thing for me. It's where I started to really get frustrated with the Eagles.
Marshawn says, return of the Mac. He's an automatic fail for the simple fact that there's way too much Mac in his name. What about you, David?
I'll give it a pass, but I do understand the sentiment and everything that Shane said. I do think that he will thrive more in a nickel role, maybe as the backup on the Eagles initially. It seems like a pick that was a backup and to create competition. I don't really know what they're doing. I mean, a lot of people will hate to hear this, but maybe they're trying to fill, you have Makuba, you have McWilliams. Maybe they're looking at moving Cooper DeJean on the outside, or at least experimenting with it. So I have no idea. I mean, it isn't something I would do, but it could be something that they want to look into doing. Who knows?
If they try to move Cooper DeJean outside because of this pick, I will drive to Lincoln Financial Field and pick at Howie's office myself.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I will come out there.
Yeah, I'll come and join you. We have it on tape.
I am so in on that. Like, I'll join you. Absolutely. What about you, Ryan? Pass or fail?
Yeah, unfortunately, I hate to say fail here, but I think one, it's multi-faceted as far as I don't know a lot about him. I do know a lot about some of the players that he could have taken, Swenson being one of them, that would have had a pretty immediate impact. And yeah, I think it just seemed like a strange pick to me. So hopefully I look back on this and we look like idiots, but it's mostly for the fact that I just don't know enough about him right now. Yeah.
I said this on our other show. I think he's kind of in that battle with Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson comes in as a very good coverage defensive back. And if you look at McWilliams, his numbers in zone coverage are excellent. And I feel like that's what they see in him as a guy that thrives in coverage. Maybe a nickel defender down the road or initially. I don't know specifically, but I give this a fail because I was one of the biggest Braden Swinson guys for the last few months. Like that, I wanted him so bad. Yeah, he didn't have elite explosiveness, but I thought he would have been a really fun addition. So I'm going to go fail. Let's go to Smael Mondon Jr. with pick number. Oh wait, I didn't give you my fun facts. Mac McWilliams. Top 3 fun facts. His full name is Dakarian. To me, that's like screams Game of Thrones for some reason, which is pretty cool.
Wait. What?
Dakarian.
How do you get that? How do you get Mac out of that?
I don't know. But I got one better. My next fun fact is his brother, his older brother, his first name is Fish McWilliams.
Fish?
That sounds like a sandwich from McDonald's. And then he also played at UAB before Mac transferred to UCF. And then his cousin, Roselle McWilliams, also played college football. So that family's got a ton of family connections in the NCAA. So those are my fun facts on Mac. Going to Smael, I'll throw it to you, Ryan. Pass or fail?
Big time pass. This is a guy that I've watched for the last couple of years, and it's been an up and down process for him. He was once one of the top linebackers, and heading into this past season, he again didn't really kind of shine the way I think we were all hoping. And yeah, I still think he was a leader on that defense. And he'll come in knowing half the team probably, and I think it's a great thing to do anytime you can give somebody already a leg up, and it's a position of need because, again, as I said with Jjihaad, there's a lot of uncertainty behind outside of Bond. Jjihaad may not be ready to go right away, but maybe Smael might be, right there with Trot, trying to figure out who's going to start that first game.
All right, pass for Ryan. David.
Yeah, I give it a pass. I do think we're at the part of the draft, including Mac McWilliams ahead of him, where Howie had, what does he have, 7 picks from there on out? He's throwing darts. If 3 or 4 of these guys make the 53, it's great. Smael is more of an insurance policy, I kind of think, than anything else, because Dean's hurt, Jjihaad, is on the mend. I think he could be a special team standout early on, but he moves around great. He's very good in space. He closes it quickly. And then you have the pedigree that they're all coming from Georgia, and they've all been, coached at the best level that the colleges have to offer. He was a standout all the way back in 2022 and the year with their national championship. Last year, I think he only had like 57 tackles, but I see him more as an insurance policy, but same that I felt with Mac McWilliams. If you're creating competition and you're bringing in the best athletes that you have at the positions of need at this point, because that's mainly what you're trying to do. The Eagles didn't really have many competition at nickel for Mac McWilliams, and they were pretty devoid of talent at linebacker right now due to the injuries. So I think it's, a great pick in that aspect alone.
What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I'll give that one. He was in my top 100, and they got him at 161. So I think that's a good use of resources, even though you've already taken a linebacker at that point. He's small, super athletic, a lot of special team snaps in his career. But despite the fact he's small, he's also a really good tackler. So he's going to struggle in the run game. He's got pretty good coverage ability. He's also got some injury red flags. He's missed a lot of time with various injuries, but I loved that pick at that spot.
Yeah, given how much the Eagles dropped back their linebackers in coverage with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, the fit is intriguing for sure. And this is where I think the theme of like home run swings begins. I think Mondon, he missed 7 games as a Bulldog, needs to stay healthy, needs to stay on the football field, but the athleticism is there. The tape is actually pretty promising, and we'll see. My fun facts on Smael Mondon. Here we go. was a 5-star recruit out of high school. He was one of the top recruits nationally. He played all 15 games as a true freshman for the Bulldogs in 2021. And here's my favorite one. He's bilingual. His parents are from the Ivory Coast, which is a southern coast of West Africa, and he can speak both French and English. Pretty fun. All right, let's roll on to Drew Kendall, interior offensive lineman with pick number 168 in the 5th round. Lead us off, Shane.
I don't know. I mean, we're in the 160s. Like, I do think it was funny that people were getting mad at me on Twitter for saying the Eagles had too many picks, and like trading back, acquiring more picks just didn't make sense. And then they praised this pick because they were like, we need a backup center. And I was like, yeah, we drafted one last year, and then we had to waive him because we had too many guys. And it kind of proves the point that you can have too many picks. But I mean, it's fine. They needed a backup center. I'm always fine with Stoutland getting offensive linemen he likes on day 3. So I guess I'll give it a pass. I don't know really much to say about most of these guys that are left except for Cameron Williams.
David.
I really like this pick. His dad was a 1st-round pick, so he comes from, the pedigree, the bloodlines. It's Howie had mentioned it's very hard to find centers because it's a very center-deficient league, I believe is how he worded it. So I like the pick. And who knows, they might even try to kick him to guard. He's 6'4", 310. I think you might see, Stoutland get to work on him. And much like Cam Jurgens a couple years ago, his first spot might be right guard as opposed to playing center at all.
I feel like the Eagles added a lot of potential guards in this draft. That's just me. Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is kind of a similar to the McWilliams. I don't know a lot about him. Yes, it is a position that I wanted them to draft. They needed a reliable backup center, but Shane made the great point. They did this last year, and we really liked that guy too. And unfortunately, we had to cut him, and it turned out we really could have used him a few times. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a pass. I think there's definite upside for guard. He didn't play any snaps at guard during his time at, was it Boston College?
Yeah.
And he played pretty much all of his high school career at guard. His dad, as we know, was a guard, I believe. Pete Kendall played 13 seasons in the NFL, was the 21st overall selection in the 1996 draft. He finished his college career with 31 consecutive starts, and he was all ACC academic team honors at Boston College. He was also named Massachusetts Gatorade Player of the Year, which is pretty cool. All right, let's roll on to Kyle McCord. This was a bit of a shock to some, but Philly quarterback factory continues. Kyle McCord was one of my favorite day 3 quarterbacks in this draft. There's some fun tape on him. Lead us off, Ryan. Pass or fail?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll have to say pass.
Okay.
I do like him. I think he's a good quarterback, a good guy to grab at 181. But I also don't know where he's going to fit. I mean, we have 3 quarterbacks. One of whom of the backups that everybody is absolutely in love with. So I'm not sure exactly where he would fit, but for whatever reason, if they trade, if they, whatever, go another direction, I do like McCord. I think he could be halfway decent in this league if, given some time.
David, pass or fail, but I'm going to double down on what Ryan just said. Does this hint towards a Tanner McKee trade down the line?
I don't think it would be Tanner McKee, but I mean, who knows? I'd be surprised, but it could be, DTR could be on the move again. I don't know how tied they are to him, but he, native of Mount Laurel, attended St. Joe Prep. I mean, they definitely have seen a lot about him. He's a pretty good processor, but I'll admit I did not watch very much quarterback play as far as all 22 college. I saw him play with Syracuse a couple games, but once live, he looked good. What stood out to me is just how, quick and decisive he is. But that's about all I have on him. But again, at this point, 181, if he makes the practice squad and develops and they could use him as QB3 a year from now, it's a win at this point.
Yeah.
He really impressed me during his time at Syracuse. He was a guy that I was somewhat out on when he was at Ohio State. Goes to Syracuse. I thought he made major improvements in this game. What about you? Where are we at? Shane?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pass. Day 3 quarterback, I'm always in for that. I think those are good darts to throw. I think you should be taking a day 3 quarterback and a day 3 running back about every year or every other year. So you take McCord. You don't have to keep DTR. He's not any good anyways. So Kyle McCord can go beat him out and be your QB3, and that's a good spot to be in.
Brandon says trading McKee is next, keeping the factory rolling.
What are you guys going to do?
I've been checking out. What's up, Grabby? Thanks for joining.
Grabby.
Fun facts about Kyle McCord. He set multiple passing records at St. Joe's Prep in Philadelphia. He led his team to 3 consecutive state championships, set a Philly Catholic League record with 6,800 passing yards and 88 passing touchdowns. He majored in communications at Ohio State, so maybe he joins Jason Kelsey down the road. Who knows? And then during his time at Syracuse, he had a weekly radio show titled The Kyle McCord Show, and he has a potato chip named after him. I'm surprised this hasn't taken over yet. It is through the brand Terrell's, and it's flavored honey barbecue sharp cheddar potato. So, not gonna lie, that sounds pretty good.
Now I need to try that.
Honey barbecue sharp cheddar potato. There you go.
It's a wild combo.
I didn't know about it until today, and I remember when our boy Cam Jurgens was drafted, I bought like 5 packs of beef jerky. So
you're gonna buy some chips now? Is that what you're telling us?
Buy some chips. We have Andrew saying Jaden Daniels going to take over. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks for chiming in.
Yeah.
Let's roll on to Myles Hinton, offensive tackle out of Michigan with pick 191 in the 6th round. Ryan, pass or fail?
I hate saying fail, but yeah, fail.
Yep.
I said it.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about Hinton. I love Cameron Williams' pick a lot more than I do this pick. Again, I just am not really sure. Maybe they're just trying to hedge their bets and hope that one of these guys can stick around to be a swing tackle, some depth piece. But still, I mean, I guess it's the 6th round, so whatever.
David.
It's a pass for me. I'm about to sound like a broken record because Drew Kendall's dad was a 1st-round pick. Kyle McCord's dad played at Rutgers. And Myles Hinton's dad was a 1st-round pick, and his brother currently plays with the Chargers. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it's a lot of pedigree there. I think if you're throwing a dart, that's the kind of dart I want to throw. I want to go with somebody who's got the bloodlines. He started 31 of 46 games at Michigan. Again, his mother was an athlete too. She played basketball for Northwestern. I mean, I think he's got all the bloodlines. So at this point, I don't really know what else to say about him, but I'd select him at 191 just for those reasons alone.
All right. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, again, 6th round player, so I'll give it a pass with the caveat that Cameron Williams was a much better player, and had they taken Hinton and then somebody else took Williams, I probably would have been upset. But because they got Williams, I'll go ahead and give this one a pass too.
Yeah, it is a 6th-round pick. This is also one of those picks that he was not on my radar. So it's hard to it's just like the McWilliams pick. It's hard for me to truly grade this until I deep dive into more of these guys, but I'll go fail on my end.
I'm convinced.
By the way, David is probably hating this show with the word fail. I'm just saying.
I am convinced. Brandon is coming in here in our chat and just convincing me even further that Washington fans don't even know what they're watching when they watch television, because he said, I hope you fixed your leaky run D when the Eagles had the second best run defense in the NFL last season. My guy, just enjoy being relevant for like 2 months of the year for the first time in 2 centuries or 2 decades.
Are you sure Brandon isn't talking to Andrew?
And
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, my bad. I thought this was the same guy. Never mind.
No,
I thought this was the Commanders fan. My apologies, Brandon. I thought you were the Commanders fan. I'm getting it all mixed up. You're totally correct. I thought
you just ruined Brandon's day. You called him Commanders fan. There you.
I just saw that. Hope you fixed your leaky run D, and I was like, we had an awesome run D, and frantically started going to chase down the stats. So never mind. Carry on. Good point, Brandon. You know ball. Andrew doesn't.
Yeah.
Krabby says getting Josh Harris is like replacing Al Davis with Jerry Jones. I am all for the Josh Harris slander. Keep him coming.
Yeah,
Keep him coming. That guy needs to get out of here as soon.
Is that a defensive end?
He's the owner of the Sixers, and
I'm just messing with you.
All right. Fun facts about Myles Hinton. David, you took some, but he was a 5-star recruit. He was one of the top offensive tackles out of high school, and his mom also was also a big-time athlete. Maya played basketball at Northwestern University. Pretty cool. Let's roll on to Cameron Williams, offensive tackle. I didn't even know. You could say this for the same thing for the next 2 players we're going to talk about. Cameron Williams pick 207 in the 6th round. I couldn't believe he was still on the board. Shane, pass or fail?
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive win for the Eagles. And this pick kind of saves day 3 for me, because this is a guy that, like, if they took Cameron Williams at 96 in the 3rd round, I would have been happy about it. I would have thought it was a good pick. And so to get him all the way down in the 200s, I just think is phenomenal. He's played a ton of snaps at right tackle in his career. He's not the prototypical size the Eagles like, but he's not small. He's like 60th percentile height, 73rd percentile weight. I think he's a guy you could potentially kick inside to negate like some footwork and hand usage issues, protect him from speed rushes. But also, if you want him to be your future right tackle, he's got a year or 2 years to kind of get some of that stuff cleaned up to attend Stoutland University. And so big frame, long arms, really strong, just needs to clean up some of the footwork and technical things. And he didn't play a ton of snaps throughout his college career. He was a 3-star recruit, marginal playing time in 2022 and 2023. And then in 2024, he became the starter. So this is a pick that I loved. I thought it made a lot of sense as a guy that you can just bring in and develop over time.
All right, David.
Yeah, I feel the same way. He was the 3rd offensive tackle selected in this draft, but he was the only one I had ranked with like a top 4-round grade on. So, yeah, I was pretty excited. He had 612 pass blocking snaps, only allowed 6 sacks. Again, over 3 years, that's not high output, but it was good production when he was playing. So I was very excited. I think it was probably one of the biggest steals out of these last guys between him and APR, who we're about to talk about.
Ryan.
Yeah, this is one of my helmet sticker guys, and I was shocked that he was still around. I also had a 4th round grade on him, so the fact that I absolutely love him a lot better than the previous 2, offensive linemen that we just took, certainly says a lot for how much I like Cameron Williams. So big pass.
Yep. Little fun fact about Cameron Williams: he majored in sociology at Oregon before transferring to Texas. He was initially committed to Oregon, and he has crazy tools. His wingspan is 85 inches. His arms are 35 inches. That's nuts. And he's 98th percentile among offensive linemen with his hands. They're nearly 12 inches. Pretty nuts. Now that's the fun facts. The bad facts. Really struggled against Georgia and Ohio State last year. Gave up 2 sacks and 3 pressures and 10 quarterback hits in 2 games against Georgia last year. And then against Ohio State, gave up 5 more pressures, 2 sacks, and a quarterback hit in that game as well. So he's a guy that's widely considered a first-round talent had he returned to Texas, but he is entering Jeff Stoutland University, and I'm excited. Give me a pass. I'm excited. These toolsy guys are exactly the kind of guys that we're looking for.
Wes's comment here. I usually listen on Spotify at 1.2 speed. I was convinced Shane was drunk and slurring until I realized the problem. And that's lightweight stuff. I listen to all my podcasts at like 1.5 speed, and some of them I kick up to 2.0. So,
oh my God.
If you start, I don't know, it's crazy. Like I started at 1.25 and then it went to 1.5. And that's like, I listen to audiobooks at 1.5, but sometimes podcasts, when I've got a bunch of them, there's certain ones I can kick up to 2.0 and just lock in. So keep bumping that up. You'll be able to listen to so many more podcasts so much faster. Not that we need more information overload, but there you go. Thanks for watching.
Last but not least, Antwaun Powell-Ryland, another guy I could not believe was sitting there with the last pick in the 6th round for the Birds. Shane, pass or fair?
So I don't know anything about him really. I have not made it to watching anything on him, and it's fine. It's not like they took an edge rusher. It's the only edge rusher they took in the class, which was kind of surprising. And so I'll give it a pass. But overall, strategically, although I passed like all of the 3rd round guy or all the day 3 guys, I think. Like it feels like a miss to me that you walk out of day 3 with 3 offensive linemen and you didn't take a running back, and you've got a guy like Kyle Monungai there in the 7th round that comes off the board. Like I just would have rather seen you end up with a running back that could potentially make the roster, because you're not keeping all 3 of these offensive linemen on your 53-man roster. So I didn't love like some of that allocation there overall. But I mean, I'll pass the edge rusher here. I don't know a ton about him. I just don't love that they came out with so trenches heavy on day 3 when I thought a running back pick would have had a legitimate shot to make the roster.
What about you, David?
Yeah, well, obviously this was one of my favorite picks. I have watched him.
Shocking, David. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I've watched him since he played at Indian River High School in Portsmouth, Virginia. I have followed him for many years. He was highly productive in college. He had 29 starts, but he had 30 sacks, 41 tackles for loss. If you've looked at any of his film, you'll see how effective and quick pass rusher he is. He has a really good first step. He has one of the best spin moves that you'll see. His highlight reels are really impressive. He was announced by the Eagles as a outside linebacker, not an edge, which is a little curious there. Fangio asked a lot of his edge rushers, including, for them to drop into coverage, which he does well. But APR has basically been, drafted to get in the backfield. He collapsed pockets. He lives back there. He thrives. He had 16 sacks. He fell in the draft maybe due to shorter arms. Yep. But one of the funnier things he mentioned at the combine was, I've lived with my shorter arms my whole life. And I got 16 sacks this past year. And to be fair to him, arm length is not quite as important at the edge position as it is like offensive tackle or something, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think, he's got an arsenal of pass rushing tricks, and he held his own very well at the Shrine Bowl. So I'm really excited about him. Of all of the players at Virginia Tech, him and Tootin were probably my 2 favorite ones, with Strong probably coming in 3rd. So I wouldn't have just gave anybody a passing. I could have gave him an incomplete, because you're right, I can't fail him.
Ryan.
Yeah, this is a big time pass. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, the two of my favorite picks are the last two picks here. Yeah, this is a guy I remember watching earlier this past year, and I mentioned it, and David, obviously gushed all over him, and was big fan, and yeah, this is fun, man. This is the kind of stuff you love seeing, and glad to add him to the rotation, and hope that he can stick and get himself some snaps and get him after them quarterbacks.
Yeah. When I was making my shorts for college football winners of the week, Antwaun Powell-Ryland had a few of those. So he had some big games, some really big games, and that kind of leads me into my fun facts. He became the first Virginia Tech player since 2005 to get double-digit sacks in the season. He also had multiple games with 4 sacks. That ties a school record. He is a member of the Montgomery County Boys and Girls Club, and he apparently, is often joining those clinics and speaking about education, which is awesome. And he's also pursuing a degree in communication studies with a minor in leadership. So that's pretty fun. So that's a little bit about Antwaun Powell-Ryland, APR, as we'll call him for the foreseeable future. Let's roll on to our next segment of the night. Describe the Eagles draft in 3 words or less and give it a grade, A to F. David, lead us off.
I'll go with too many picks, I guess, and I'll give it a B.
What about you, Shane?
Well, I wrote down too many picks.
No way. Are you serious?
Yes.
That's insane.
How? What?
Too many OL. I'll change it. Too many OL. And I'll give it a B+.
All right. What about you, Ryan?
Got a linebacker. Couldn't be happier about that. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to my my A. I think this is really good as far as getting 2 impactful guys in the first and second round, getting a lot of really good depth pieces, and crushing the end of the draft with Williams and APR there. So yeah, I was a big fan.
I made a video earlier and I gave it a B. I'm going to stick with a B. I'm happy about the moves. I would have liked to see them be a little more aggressive on day 2. Again, I thought it was going to be more quality than quantity, and Howie clearly thought differently. And who am I to judge? So I'm going to stick with a B. Let's go on to our last segment. Now that we know a little bit more about the Eagles depth chart, the Eagles can sign some players now without impacting their comp picks for the following season. But what is your favorite way too early training camp battle to watch, Shane?
I don't think it was changed by the draft. I think it's still Keely Ringo against Adoree Jackson.
Okay.
Who's going to start at boundary corner is probably the biggest thing up in the air for me. I mean, I thought about going Makuba versus Brown, but I think Makuba already won that unless training camp's just a disaster. I don't think Fangio really trusts Sidney Brown a whole lot. So I will stick with what I would have said before the draft. It's Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson.
David.
Yeah, that's where I was going as well, but I guess I will pivot to Trotter Jr. versus Smael.
Nice.
I think they have a similar role on the team, and I don't know what they think of Trotter Jr. moving forward in that aspect. So I am curious to see how that shakes out, because Bond and Jjihaad, assuming he's healthy, are going to be on the field, and they brought in Gant. So they're only going to probably keep 4 off-ball linebackers. I think that's what they did last year, 4 or 5. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because they kind of have very similar roles, special teams, standouts, and very similar skill set. Just in reverse. One pounds the run, one's better in coverage. So maybe they rotate them. Who knows?
Crabby says call him small.
That's why he's not as good against the run. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, you guys just took the 2 ones I would have taken. So I'll pivot to the right guard spot and Tyler Steen versus the field, I guess, if you will. Whether it's Kenyon Green, again, first round pick, who's kind of had a rough go. Maybe Trevor Keegan is somewhere involved in that fight as well. Again, I'm not really sure what, but those are the only three position battles that I think aren't really already over.
I'm going to go Moro Jomo versus Ty Robinson. I think that's going to be a really fun battle to see who gets that third defensive tackle spot. Moro Jomo, his advanced stats were outrageous last year. He had the best pressure rate. I don't know if that's true or not. 11.9%. Shane, correct me if I'm wrong. His pass rush win rate was 15.9%, fifth among all defensive tackles. Best among the 2023 draft class. So he's going to get more opportunities. And I think Ty Robinson and his versatility, he's going to get on the field. That size, that's something we need, man. So, for me, Ty Robinson versus Moro Jomo. I think I'm really excited to see how that turns out. That about does it. We're going to wrap it up here. Throw it to you, David. Plugs, final thoughts on the draft. Time is yours.
Yeah, I like the draft. I just think it went very different than expected. I thought the same that you did, that they were going to try to get, quality over quantity. He obviously, viewed the board much differently. I come out of it with the biggest shock for me was them not addressing the tight end position. Yeah. It's something that I 100% went into it thinking they're getting Mason Taylor, they're getting Gunnar Helm, they're getting something. I thought they were going to use a high pick. So I was a little surprised by that. The only disappointing moment I had was when they traded back with Charles Grant there at 96. I just thought for sure they were bringing William and Mary Guy in. It just seemed like it just fell perfectly. And maybe a little mildly surprised that they didn't address right guard. I mean, I guess if you had to guess now, Tyler Steen maybe is the favorite there. But aside from that, I like all of the long shots, so to speak, that they threw darts at the end of the draft. I just am surprised that they didn't try to move up in the third round, whether it be for tight end or, maybe a better guard, maybe like somebody who could have been multi-positional like Charles Grant.
Do you think there's any chance that we see Cameron Williams and Holland Pierce move to right guard?
Maybe. I mean, they brought Matt Pryor back to compete there too, I would suspect. So, I mean, it's, maybe.
High Becton vibes.
A lot of big boys there that could.
I definitely think that played a big role in Drew Kendall as well. I mean, I think, Stoutland has as big a voice as Fangio does as far as the war room goes. So these guys were picked for a reason. So
I just realized I never gave my Eagles draft in 3 words or less. My Eagles draft in 3 words or less was Merry Christmas, Fangio. It was very obvious that he had a huge input in this draft. And we said so many times that we always say in Howie Roseman we trust. This season proved in Vic Fangio we trust. And I think Howie paid it forward and said, there you go. Who do you want? So, Shane, final thoughts, plugs, time is yours.
Yeah, the Eagles have been remarkably defense heavy early in drafts over the last couple of years. And 2023, their first 2 picks and 4 of their first 5 picks were defense. In 2024, their top 3 selections were on the defensive side of the ball. In 2025, their top 5 selections were on the defensive side of the ball. So rebuilding that defense, because, you've got a star-studded offense, so keep throwing darts at the defense. But, follow all these guys on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at ShaneHalfNFL. Johnny and I are going to have a show coming out on Thursday. We're going to have Devin Jackson from the Inquirer on to talk through some of the Eagles draft selections and get his thoughts. So you can tune in for that one. It'll be up in the podcast feed later this week too. And Mark and I think are going to do some draft grades for the NFC tomorrow on Chalk Talk. Chalk Talk will be back now that Armchair Scouts is sunset for a couple of months, and we'll keep having content coming your way. So stay locked in and let's make it through the summer together.
I hate that Cam Scatterbo went to the Giants. I legit. Anyway, Ryan, final thoughts, plugs.
Yeah, it was another fun draft season with everybody. Can't wait to I mean, I shouldn't say can't wait because I already have, but start more draft content for 2026. And yeah, obviously make sure everybody's following everybody here. And yeah, I don't know. Got a freaking linebacker. What else do I need? I'm good.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Make sure you follow Ryan at Philly Sports PSA. He is David at PHL Eagle News. And then my man Shane Half at Shane Half NFL. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys. Anyone who watched, commented, contributed to the Armchair Scouts. That was a lot of fun as well. We'll pick that up again for sure. But it was a journey. And again, thank you everyone watching the watch parties and things like that. It was a blast. He is Ryan. He is David. He is Shane. I'm Dives. Thanks for watching, guys. Go Birds. Stay awesome.